welcome to the channel today. We began a conversation on who you marry matters. We touched on the basis of what marriage is, what is the criteria for finding the right spouse or finding a spouse for that matter, but we haven't hit on the one that matters to nurturers, and that is, how does who you marry affect conception, affect the kind of seed you give birth to. So I'm going to hand over to Daniel.
Not only who you marry, because we agree that marriage leads to conception. So who you marry matters, because marriage is about bonding, it's about relationship, it's about companionship, it's about togetherness. So imagine being with someone you are not companioning with, you cannot communicate with, you cannot reason with, you cannot socialize with, you cannot plan projects with. A person that doesn't resonate with your core, so you can't vibrate along the same direction, you can't follow your life together with. So that alone itself is a factor in the conception process, because the marriage itself is supposed to be a harmonious relationship. It ought to be a harmonious relationship. If it's conflictual, if it's full of arguments and some antisocial behaviors, these affect the emotions of the woman, it affects the ambience of the house, it simply colors the inner state, inner emotional arrangement of the woman, and that's where the child is going to be formed. It is not something we should not understand, that behavior affects our biology. By that it means how we behave is imprinted in our genetic system. Our behavior becomes a genetic makeup. Our behavior becomes a genetic pattern. Our behavior also shapes the inner psychic environment that affects our mood. And a woman's mood during conception affects the child's development. Her mood can affect her health, physical health, mental health, social health, even her spiritual receptivity. So the factors of who you marry are decisive or important enough in determining how the child even functions or grows in the womb, let alone the genetics. So who you marry matters towards conception, because the harmonious relationship, the harmoniousness of the relationship or otherwise, are factors that can impinge on the development of the child, because whatever affects the mother affects the child as the child is growing in the womb. So if you don't have harmonious relationship, it can affect the way you see things. Maybe this other person behaves or believes you need to keep the environment uncluttered. Maybe the room or this, as the pregnancy is coming, you need to give beautiful environment, create an environment that is supportive of happiness and inner well-being. The other one doesn't believe such. So this one believes, this one doesn't believe that one. So that alone is a problem in the pregnancy development process. So being in the right relationship, being with the right partner, is contributory to the woman's well-being, because it affects the whole situation and all the factors: environmental, nutritive, social, spiritual, emotional, that go along to building the both physical environment and mental environment and emotional environment that affects the womb in which the child grows. So that aside, the child you conceive will look like somebody. He will reflect the image of a person. You are conceiving by someone, so the child will look like the mother, or look like the father, or look like the heritage of either or both parents. The child is fabricated within a mold of heredity. So that heredity could be ancestral or immediate. Immediate, that means the parents, immediate parents. Give ancestral. So you see, for instance, they talk of the the health situation. It could be one of the parents has history of diabetics in the family and discovered that the child carries it. It could be one of the parents has history of asthma in the family and the child carries it. It could be one of the parents has history of high blood pressure or a kind of disease and the child carries it. So a child is fabricated biologically within the mold of the heritage that the parents carry. So the child is going to come biologically reflecting that heritage. So that's one. So mentally, the child is going to look like someone. So not only that, the kind of mental or intellectual frame, intellectual disposition, intellectual character you have will be exhibited in the child. The period during the conception process, what goes on in your mind, what goes on, what kind of inclination you give yourself to, they are also in creating patterns within the genetic system, because genes are not cast on stone. Genes are always subject or responsive to modifications. They are always subject to or responding to modification. They are responding to dominant inclinations we have. So we are always rewriting our genetic code, modifying genetic code, and so the children we give birth to are a product of whatever degree of modifications we might have given to our genetic makeup.